Wouldn't it just be awesome if everything in your downswing just works? You're able to fire the hips properly in the downswing, get the arms to fold and fall into the natural slot to make solid contact with the golf ball, and see the golf ball travel towards the target and sit right next to the pin. Well, for most of you at the moment watching this video, I can imagine that isn't the case. You're finding that when you try and fire the hips during the downswing, you either get a little bit too off balance, we start to feel like we're leading backwards onto the golf ball because of this. We see those rightward shots, leftward shots, and then we see those fat and thin golf shots as well. It feels a bit too inconsistent for you to go ahead and try this. So is it really the thing that you should be working on in your downswing? Well, in today's video, I have just the solution for you. What I want to show you is a simple test that any golfer can do, no matter their age or ability, to be able to actually see if you should be focusing on firing the hips in the downswing. And whether the test is a yes or no, whether you pass it or not, I'm going to show you a drill either way that's going to really help you get your downswing in shape and start seeing golf shots just like that one I've just hit there. So for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. I'm Harry, a golf teacher professional, posting content just like this every single week to help you lower your scores. Please do click that subscribe button as it helps me produce more content just like this, and it's totally free to do as well. So let's begin with the test. What I want you to do is take the club and place it across your shoulders like this here, and take your stance ever so slightly wider than shoulder width apart. So really what you would normally do when you're setting up to the golf ball. Now from this position here, you've got your hands either side of the club, pushing the club against you so the club doesn't move at all. The reason why we have the club here is because I'm going to get you to see if you can twist your shoulders and keep your hips very still. So if I was just to move my shoulders, taking a look from this camera angle just to begin with, if I was just to move my shoulders, what we can see here is that I'm able to move my shoulders and keep my hips relatively stable. So this is checkpoint number one. Now checkpoint number two, can you keep your shoulders stable but start to rotate your hips either side? This is where the tricky one comes in. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to keep my shoulders nice and stable but move my hips either side. Without lifting my heels, lifting my feet, I'm moving my hips either side. Now when you start to test this, you should be able to feel a big contraction taking place either side of your core muscles as you start to rotate, as if you're moving into the backswing, then moving into the downswing. The difference with this is we're just keeping the shoulders nice and stable. Really get this movement separation without moving the shoulders when you're only supposed to be moving these hips, then well done, you've passed that second part. If you can keep those hips still and move the shoulders either side like this here as well, congratulations, you've passed both of them, and that means you can look into firing the hips in the downswing as a technique to help you improve your downswing. But for those of you who can't do this and find that when, especially for stage two, you should find stage one relatively pretty easy when you move those shoulders either side and keep the hips pretty still. But when you start to try the second way, by keeping the shoulders stable, moving those hips either side, if you start to notice that when you try this, your shoulders want to move as well, it feels a little bit rigid, a little bit stiff, and you start to try and move those hips, but those shoulders start to move as well in the backswing, and the same on the way through, there's no disassociation taking place there. So you haven't passed the test. That is absolutely fine, because in this video now I'm going to show you two simple drills. One, for those of you who have passed the test and can get that disassociation, that separation between the lower and upper body in your golf swing. And those of you who haven't passed the test, who struggle to do this and find that the shoulders and hips move at the same time. We're going to start with those of you who haven't passed the test. And the reason for this is that if you are someone out there that's been trying to fire the hips in the downswing, you find you're too stiff to be able to do this, you do that test, it doesn't work, where do you start? Where do you start is the question. So let's take a look at that right now. But if you want to cut straight to the point and go straight into, for those of you who have passed, the actual drill to help you fire the hips in the downswing, you can take a look at that further on in the video. So when we take a look at golfers who have struggled to get that disassociation, that separation in the golf swing, the reason why you find it really difficult to fire the hips when you try this, or whenever you watch videos or you go for lessons and they tell you to do that same movement, firing at the hips, is simply because when your hips fire, your shoulders are going to fire as well. So when you get to the very top of your golf swing, the first maneuver you'll make is the thought of fire the hips. Well, when we fire the hips and start to rotate them round, when you do that dissociation test and you try to get those hips to separate, those shoulders moved with the hips, especially on the way through, didn't they? Those shoulders moved with the hips in a way that was stopping you from getting that separation. So as soon as we make our way into the downswing and we practice this move here, firing at the hips, look what this is causing the club to do. It's causing the club here to go over the top. Because as my shoulders follow, my shoulders are the main connection between the arms and the club and the arms are going to follow in that same direction. They're going to be pushed too far on the outside, leaving you no choice but to pull the club inwards and cut across the golf ball massively. So you're either going to see that low pull to the left or that high, horrible slice. So the drill is simple. We can break this down into 3 different parts. Number 1, you're going to get to the very top of your golf swing, just ensuring that you are making a full turn. So simply put, you can take the club again back across your shoulders and just allow this butt end of the club to point as close to the golf ball as you possibly can without shifting the body just like this here. We don't want to add any sway into the golf swing to do this. We just want you to simply rotate into the backswing here. So for me, the feeling to do this is allow my trail hip of mine to rotate round and back, as you can see here, from this side on view, round and back, and the face on view here, round and back. You can see there I'm applying pressure into this trail side, but I'm being able to stay well over the golf ball when doing this. So I'm rotating into the top of my golf swing, ensuring I get that full turn as much as I can that feels comfortable, so I'm in a full backswing position. So up to the very top of the golf swing. Now as I make my way into the downswing, we've got that full turn. So we've already got more room than ever to be able to start to shallow the club. The key for this is shallowing the club. Firing the hips from here, no dissociation, no separation. We're going to push the club back out. So what we've got to do is actually delay the lower body. We've got to give you time to be able to get the club working down into the slot and then firing the hips afterwards. So when I make my way into the downswing, the first initial thought for me, if I was someone that really struggled with dissociation, would be allowing those hands to fall behind my trail heel. So my trail heel being my right heel as a right-handed player. So if I was just to do that again, up to the top, back down, hands down behind the trail heel. Look where this sets up my hands. Look where it sets the club. Very much so on the inside, well on the inside, well shallow as I make my way then to deliver this club into the golf ball. The reason why we want to be able to exaggerate this more so is because you're so used to firing the shoulders from firing those hips in the downswing. So as soon as you start to apply speed and have that thought in your head of hit the golf ball hard, the initial reaction is going to be you moving this way. So we've got to try and find that middle ground, haven't we, in the downswing to get that great strike, great compression, and get those straighter shots. To do that, we want to get rid of this. We want to get you there. To get you there, we have to feel like we're well over here, the feel versus real concept, because I can guarantee when you practice that drill and you make your way with that full turn and you allow those hands to fall down behind your trail heel, so the club shaft itself is pretty much parallel with the ground, from this point here, you're going to switch on the body. In fact, even before that, you're going to switch on the body when we start to build this up into all-in-one motion golf swings. So the more you can exaggerate this, the better, because from here, as we start to push the hands down, we allow those hands to fall, you're going to switch on the lower body, and that's going to switch on those shoulders to turn as well. So look what happens here. There you go. That action. So that's the action that's going to happen in your downswing. Take a look at one of the best players in the world at the moment, Justin Rose, playing some fantastic golf at the moment. And when you take a look at his rehearsal drill, which I absolutely love, it's a great drill to have for anyone who struggles with this same issue, where he'll get to the top, and he even said in a video once of him a couple of years ago practicing this, is that he has that tendency of over-firing the hips, over-firing the shoulders, This could be because he struggles to get that dissociation as much as the other players on tour. So what he's got to do instead is allow time to start to even things out. Allow time for those hands to drop into place so that as he starts to rotate the body, as he starts to switch on the body, it's going to get the club back down on the perfect position, perfect delivery position to then make contact with the golf ball. So for those of you who are really struggling with that movement, you've failed that test, don't worry. As long as you focus on that second point, you're getting that full turn, allowing those hands to go down behind the heel, you're then going to set yourself up for massive success once you get used to this. It'll take time to get used to, but I'm telling you, the results will be remarkable. Nice high draw there, getting rid of that high slice and the low hook. Let's see if I can just hit another one, really focusing on getting that drop and then turning right the way through to finish. Was able to start that one a little bit more to the right. It's drawing back nicely onto the green. Easy as that, birdie putt, take that every day of the week. So let's move on to those of you golfers out there at the moment that are really struggling with getting those hips to fire correctly, but you have passed that test, so you can afford to get those hips firing in your downswing. Now, just a quick note, for those of you who are fairly new to the channel as well, I do offer in-person and online coaching. Feel free to check out the links in the description below if you'd like more personalized coaching to suit your needs. Now, when golfers come down here and they try and fire those hips in the golf swing, they try and get those hips firing in the golf swing, what I'll notice too often is they'll fire their hips like this. When they start to fire the hips by bumping those hips forward, look what this is doing to my upper body. It's forcing my upper body here to get into some sort of position where it is tilting back. The difference there, if we were to draw a line from my sternum towards my belt buckle, we can see there that angle being formed compared to where I should be at impact, which is pretty much directly over the golf ball, is totally different. So as soon as we feel this action, as soon as we rehearse this action here, and we make our way into the downswing from here, we've got to do a few things. We've got to jump out of the way and lift upwards, because we're getting stuck as well. We're more likely to hit the ground from here. It's no good. We've got to be able to get yourself into a reliable position where you're still covering the golf ball, you're still moving in a way that's allowing the body to stay over the golf ball, not over this way. I just mean keeping the sternum and belt buckle fairly in line on a vertical plane in relation to the ground, as opposed to being like this here. And it's the way we feel this hip here. When you make your way into the downswing, when you focus after making that full turn, just like what I've spoken about in the last drill for those of you who are struggling to get that dissociation, even for those of you who can get that dissociation, I'd recommend ensuring that you're getting a full turn where we're just taking the club across the shoulders again, allowing this butt end of the club to point at the golf ball without shifting away to get that club pointing at the golf ball. So for those of you who haven't watched that first part, this is just the drill I mentioned just to begin with, just to ensure that we're getting that butt end of the club to point as close as we can to the golf ball. Go as far as you can go that feels comfortable, so that when you make your way into the backswing, you've got a full turn that's going to really encourage the correct reaction of this lead hip, which is, rather than this action here and leaning back, we want this action here. Let's take a look at the before video where we get to the very top of the swing and we bump those hips forward towards the target. That causes my upper body, my spine angle to tilt on a very much so awkward axis as we make our way into hitting the golf ball. When you take a look at the good one, when we get to the downswing, it's actually more from a rotational aspect of the hip as opposed to a bumping of the hip going forwards. We are rotating this hip round and away from the golf ball. So one of the other things I mentioned in drill number 1 is still relevant to this, by the way, is when we start to rotate into this backswing here to get that full turn, I mentioned the feeling of the trail hip working round and back. So the trail hip here is working round this way, but it's also working back. almost like it's moving a little bit more towards the target. So we're rotating round. Well, for the downswing, it's the opposite movement for those of you who have been able to pass that test, who can fire the hips in the downswing. For you, it's the feeling of on the way down, it's this hip here rotating round and back. And the reason why we're getting you here to get that round and backward motion is because look what that does to my spine angle. It keeps it perfectly vertical in relation to the ground. It keeps me working over the golf ball as I make my way through to impacts, just like this here. Look how much more rotation I'm able to develop. Look at the position I've been able to get myself set into the downswing just from rehearsing that movement. The feeling there is rather than the hip shifting towards the target, the feeling is the hip rotating round and back. So the feeling of round and back, do we think it's going to keep you onto the trail side, stop you from transferring your weight? Well, let me tell you something. This move here is going to stop you from transferring your weight a lot more so than actually getting this hip to rotate round and back. Because as you do this, as you start to apply force into the swing, the speed of the swing during the downswing phase, you're going to want to push upwards. You're going to feel it from this lead side of the body. As you start to rotate this hip round and back, you're going to want to push upwards. And pushing upwards is going to be the feeling from your belt buckle or your belly button. You're getting your belt buckle. I've got one on, so I'm going to use that for this example. You're getting your belt buckle after you've got the hip round and back to push upwards. Push upwards so it's actually pointing past the golf ball. It's gone past the golf ball and it's pointing towards your target. That's getting you really there to turn through, swinging more up with the upper body, which is a good thing, because when we get the upper body to rotate upwards, look what that forces my arms to do. It forces my arms to straighten up, to go down into the golf ball, to compress that golf ball as I swing through. That's the key. If we stay too down, from firing the hips here, we try and stay down. We've got no choice but for those arms to be dragged inwards. The key is to get the body working so that your arms can naturally throw down to the golf ball. That's going to happen naturally once you start to focus on round, back, and belt buckle facing towards the target. You could see it there with the way I transitioned if we were to replay that there. Massive difference in the way I have been able to control the downswing, but also get those hips working in the correct formula. So let's hit another shot just to show you what that looks like as we practice this all in one motion. Another nice little draw taking place there. So pretty good shot there. So make sure whichever one you are, whether you struggle to get that dissociation in your golf swing, that separation, or you have been able to achieve this from that test, that you focus on the right drill that's going to work better for your golf swing. You might even find that when you try this, that you might want to try the complete opposite feel, because that may work better for you, depending on the way the club travels during the downswing, whether we get too shallow or too steep. Now, for more information on this, if you want any more questions regarding this, I'd recommend reaching out to me for personalised coaching for that, because everyone's completely different. And for me to be able to identify what's going to work specifically for you, I would have to check up your swing to make sure that as you develop the correct body movement, the correct arm movement, that the club's working in your favour. I'll leave the links in the description below for that, along with all my other coaching material to help you further improve your game. Now, be sure to click that subscribe button if you've enjoyed watching this video, as I've got loads more coaching tips coming out every single week to help you lower your scores. And drop a comment down below if you would like to see more content just like this one. I want specifics. I want to see if you want more driver videos. I want to see if you want more downswing videos, more backswing videos. Be specific, let me know what you would like to see next, and I'll get those videos done for you. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out this video over here if you're looking for more great tips to help you not just only improve the downswing, but tips that are going to help you fix your entire golf swing.